Thank you very much.
It's Kaufman is Alive. I look at comic books new and old. Today I'm looking at an old comic book published by Image Comics, Spawn number 30. This came out in April of 1995. Had a $1.95 cover price when it came out. This was a book I did buy off the comic book racks when it came out. Definitely read it hundreds of times. I was a big Spawn fan when I was a teenager. Savage Dragon, Youngblood, all that stuff. I wasn't buying every issue of Spawn, but when this one came out, I definitely picked it up. The cover kind of speaks for itself here. How could you not want to pick up this issue? Really striking cover here. I love how the noose is coming right down through the logo there. There's no backgrounds either, so your eyes obviously solely focused on this figure of Spawn being hanged here. I like how there's a little bit of space between the noose and his neck there as well. His chains are his own chains are keeping him captive there, which I don't know how that would work because this is a symbiotic costume that he's got, so the chains would probably not be working with his captors. But as we see later in this book, Spawn is able to get out of this situation, so maybe it's just the chains themselves playing games. But love this tattered cape too. You almost could even not draw the cape on this drawing, but it really adds to it. Kind of shows the wind, him swaying in the wind here while he's being hanged. Pretty awesome looking cover. Now this is not the exact same copy that I bought off the comic book racks when I was a kid. I had to rebuy this recently. I did come across a copy. It's not in the best shape. It's got some tears on the spine there. A little bit of smudging on this cream looking cover that you can see. Kind of reminds me of the copy that I had though when I was a kid, because that's a copy I read 100 times and it got pretty beat up too. Who knows? This might even be the exact same book. But got Greg Capullo doing the artwork here with help from Todd McFarlane. They got a special thanks to Kevin Conrad as well. So there's definitely a couple pages in here I feel like Todd certainly had a hand in. I'll try to point those out when we get to them. And Todd McFarlane's doing the story here. This issue is called The Clan. As we got Spawn going up against the Ku Klux Klan here. This is dedicated to little Katie and Cyan. And we've got Director of Creative Development Terry Fitzgerald, Graphics Coordinator Julia Simmons. So, yeah, if you didn't know, a lot of the characters in the actual comic itself, their names were taken from people who actually work in the Spawn office or their kids, like Cyan, Terry Fitzgerald. We got Alan and Wanda Simmons as, you know, a takeoff of like Julia Simmons here. So we got Spawn here. He's kind of just like a vagabond at this point in the comic book. We learn in the last issue he was in Alabama. So he's in the South here. He's in the deep South. I like how in these Spawn comics during this time, it's kind of like the Odyssey, where he's just going from place to place, meeting random characters, getting into different situations, but his ultimate goal is to get to Wanda. So in this issue, though, like I say, he's in the Deep South. He's just kind of wandering around. He says he can't stop thinking about women. Wanda, Angela. I really like the cloud in the background here. It's got no real purpose to the story, but it just shows that Spawn is basically just followed by darkness here, I feel like. And again, his cape is already all tattered here. He's just thinking to himself here about everything he's been through recently. Angela, the angel, sent him here. Suddenly some Klan guys just drive by. Spawn sees him off in the distance. He sees some bright lights in the distance, and he hears someone yelling, "Stop it," so he figures he better go investigate, find out what's going on here. So we find this family here being confronted by the Ku Klux Klan. They're trying to be forced out of this town. We find out they're the last black family who lives in this town. There's some really heavy dialogue too in this book. They don't go all the way with some things like you might think they could have. But remember, this book, it's being written by a white guy, so some pretty touchy subjects, I feel like. They do a good job of keeping the Ku Klux Klan very evil in this book. They're not any group of people you should like. And they get us to empathize with this family here who's being attacked. He calls them white trash maggots. So Spawn shows up offering to help, but obviously this guy thinks Spawn is working with the Klan because he's in this, satanic looking suit. He has a mask on. Spawn explains, I'm not from the Klan. The guy says, well, then what are you hiding? He says, my past. And then we get a lot of exposition from Spawn here, explaining how obviously Al Simmons was a black man too, and he basically always got screwed over by these rich white men in power. And it ultimately cost him his life and gave him these scars and this hideous transformation that he's gone through. So they decide that, they're going to take on this Klan here. Spawn's putting together this explosive in this pipe here, so when the pickup truck drives by, it blows up. Spawn warns them to leave the ranch alone. They just shoot him right through the head immediately. So they think this guy's done for. They think they've killed him, obviously. And they grab a chain from the trunk, as the leader says, and they hang him up here by the chain on the tree. So different than actually the cover, as Spawn's being hung by a chain, which is just brutal. They do have his chains tied behind his back as well, like on the cover. But, as you see on the cover, it's actually a rope. But here they're using the chains. So pretty awesome looking tree. I gotta feel like McFarlane did some work on this tree, especially some of the inking on it, and maybe the pencils. Reminds me a lot of some McFarlane stuff. But it does have Greg Loves Shelley down here on this rock, like Greg Capullo. And then a TM and WK, which is, Todd McFarlane and his wife Wanda. So I gotta imagine this was kind of a joint between the two, and then they both signed it down here with their wives as well, or girlfriends, whatever they were at the time. So then we get a little bit of Sam and Twitch here. They just took out Billy Kincaid recently. We see that Switch is a really good shot. He's basically got like a sniper's eye here. So we head back to the south. We see Spawn being hung up here. We just got his feet dangling. This guy named Brad Armstrong, who was getting attacked by the Klan, his family was. He sees Spawn. He thinks obviously they've killed him too. They start to try and stomp him into the ground. They're just trying to scare him, obviously. But then we don't see what happens. We just see the look on the face of one of the Klan members, and then this like flash of light. We see that Spawn's no longer being hanged here. We kind of see all the bodies strewn across the ground, including the Klan members. So we assume something happened here. But we don't actually get to see it, which is an interesting way of telling the story here for sure. Then we go straight to a courtroom scene. And I feel like McFarlane was drawing this face here, maybe some of these faces too. They look like McFarlane faces. Not the kind of thing that Capullo typically does. Although Capullo was drawing a lot more like Todd McFarlane after he took over for him on Spawn than what he does now, for sure. So we learn the judge is actually the leader of the Klan here in this town, of course. So then we see Spawn in kind of a funny bit here. He's like messing with all the members of the Klan. He's not killing them. He's just doing things to kind of piss them off. He puts gasoline in this guy's favorite drink. twists up the barrel of this guy's shotgun, destroys this dude's truck, and then he confronts the judge. Of course, all the other Klansmen are looking for him. But Spawn easily has his way with them. He ties them up by the noose. You know, he wants these guys to feel the fear that they try and show all the people in the community. And Spawn says, if that doesn't bother you, Judge, well, here's something that might. And then the other Klansmen are showing up, and the judge thinks that he's got Spawn right where he wants him. Obviously, Spawn's going to be more powerful than all these guys combined, but he plays the giant trick on this judge here, using his necroplasm powers, and he turns the judge into a black man. So when the clan all gets there, they don't recognize him, and they just string him up. So totally brutal and poetic way to end that story here. So Spawn, he says he's got a file that contains everything the judge did. He's like, it was his mistake that he kept such great notes. No governing body outside this county will disregard these facts, he says. So he gives them to this guy, Brad Armstrong here. And he says, I don't know how you survived, but I hope the judge don't cause no more problems. And Spawn's like, I think he got the message. Then we see the final splash page of presumably the judge being strung up here by his own clan members. I love the detail on the boots here. It looks totally different than when Spawn was hung up earlier in the book and they showed Spawn's feet here, because he's just got like a superhero spandex costume, and that's what Capullo drew. And here he's got the actual muddy boots on. So yeah, kind of a controversial issue for sure. But man, a great self-contained story in here. I thought this was a really great issue. Some awesome pencils by Greg Capullo. We get an awesome pinup, double splash page pinup here of Angela and Spawn. This is by Craig Weich. We get some Image fan art as well, which is always fun to try and maybe find future artists in here. I don't think I see any names I necessarily recognize, but we'll get some Todd's Toys here, action figures. Todd's Toys, which became McFarlane Toys, obviously. So yeah, Spawn number 30. And then Spawn number 32, we got the debut of the new costume, which was this was definitely during a time where I was reading Spawn. I remember picking this issue up as well, number 32. So I was definitely buying Spawn a lot during this time period. So definitely recommend this. Thanks again for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet, if you like videos like this. I've got hundreds of other videos on my channel, so go check those out as well. And I'll see you guys on the next one.